Welcome back to the Fandom Empire YouTube show and channel. That I already screwed things up. Our Fandom Empire YouTube channel and our weekly show, House of the Empire. Tonight we got a loaded show. You're going to get a probably an all too quick review of Spider-Man Brand New Day from us. We're going to dive into the penultimate episode of House of the Dragon season 3, while talking about that Halloween rumor a little later on of a period piece movie possibly setting the tone for the 50th anniversary movie. The Elm Street news, which has been met with a lot of backlash. Star Wars, and we're going to end with some wrestling talk. But joining me, as always, first up, he's the Grand Moff himself. He's Randy. What's going on, buddy?
Not a lot. It was quite the busy weekend with going to see Spider-Man and then 2 nights of SummerSlam, and then pretty much finishing it off with House of the Dragon. It has been, it's been a roller coaster because there's just been so much going on and so much good content out there right now. So yeah, pretty excited to talk about this stuff.
I have done just about everything possible to distract myself from life by intaking all those pieces of content that you have mentioned, and I find it works for a time, and then the content ends, and it's like you get sucked back into reality really quick, and that brain of yours does the brain thing, and you get thinking about things. But I'll talk about that at the end of the show. Also joining us, he is stationed just outside of Winterfell. Lots going on in House of the Empire right now. He is the voice himself, Zach the Voice. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, man. It's a manic Monday. I'll put it that way. But excited to be able to talk Thrones and Spider-Man and all those other things. Not a whole lot happening on the Northern Front, to be honest. Ever since the Winter Wolves marched south, things have been pretty quiet up here. So happy to report that they seem to be doing well on their endeavors, and looking forward to seeing how productive they can be in this coming episode on Sunday.
And also joining us, some guy who looks vaguely familiar, can't quite place his name. I think we've seen him a time or two before around these parts. He doesn't know it yet because I haven't wanted to boost his ego, but we've had a few people come over here in the last couple of months and ask where the heck he's been. Well, where he's been is introducing himself to fatherhood. And we've told him personally congratulations, but now we can say to Tommy B himself, no yellow sweater in attendance tonight, unfortunately. Congratulations once again on your bundle of joy, man, and welcome to fatherhood.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here this evening. It's been an exciting weekend as well, but it's like with Zach, it's been a very, very manic Monday. But this is a nice way to kind of unwind it a little bit, talk some Spidey. Yeah.
Unlike the song, I don't wish it was Sunday, because then I'd just have to relive Monday again.
Amen to
that. It's kind of funny when I brought Spider-Man up in I think it was the group. It might have been privately with you, Tommy, but I think it was the group. And I had meant to get around to asking you if you were going to be able to find any free time whatsoever to see the movie in the next week or two. And you had already seen the damn thing.
It worked out wonderfully because my in-laws were visiting and we had pre-planned to do a date night type thing. And we're very happy that we did.
That's fantastic. All right, so let's get into it, guys. We'll do some facts right off the top. I didn't think this was on the agenda. I didn't think this was a remote possibility. I didn't hear talk about this leading up to it. And then, boom, the news comes out. Not only did Spider-Man Brand New Day make $932 million worldwide this weekend, it made $360 million domestically, becoming the biggest opening weekend box office return domestically of all time. This isn't an Avengers film or a reunion Star Wars film. This is the next Spider-Man film, and yes, there's some familiar faces in it, but I just didn't think this was going to happen. And all of a sudden, it's the most successful movie of all time for opening weekends, which is kind of nuts in my opinion. Zach, over to you first, buddy. Give us your brief, 2 minute non-spoiler review before we get into spoilers.
Okay. I'm with you. I don't think I expected the finances to be quite what they turned out to be, but I'm also not surprised in the slightest that these are the numbers that we're getting, because I firmly believe Spider-Man is Marvel's best property. They put all of their efforts into the storytelling, the action, the set pieces, the cohesiveness. They seem to put maximum effort into these particular properties. And the fact that this is Tom Holland's fourth installment, not including Avengers appearances, not including Civil War or anything like that, I think it's a testament to his ability to portray the character. That four installments is more than what we got from Tobey Maguire. It's twice what we got from Andrew Garfield, and we're still kind of itching for more at the end of this movie, which is it's an incredible testament to the writers, the directors, the cast and crew, to be able to pull all of that off in the way that they did is nothing short of a great achievement, because you get tie-ins to other properties, to other parts of Marvel and other comics. You get other inclusions like Frank Castle from the Netflix days of Marvel. It's just so well done the way that they brought everything together. And I went with Mondo and my wife, and Mondo looked at his watch at one point during the movie, and afterwards, when we were processing it, he was like, "You know what? I was checking my watch because I knew about how long this movie was, and when I saw what time it was, I got sad that it only had about a half hour left." And thinking back on it, I probably would have felt the same way if I had been checking my watch, because it was exactly what I wanted from a superhero movie. It was exactly what I wanted from, like, just a summer popcorn flick. Um, Moviegoers have been eating very, very well this summer, and this particular weekend was one of the best in cinema history, because not only did Brand New Day do exceptionally well, but people are still clamoring to go see The Odyssey as well. And so,
51 million domestically again.
mhm, yeah. Yeah, and I was part of that 51 million. I took my in-laws to go see it. Super, super good film, and we may go see it again with Spanish dub, so that'll be a new way to experience it. But all in all, I have really enjoyed this summer slate, and I particularly enjoyed Brand New Day. It was very fun.
Entertainment Wizard says every showing at my theater was almost sold out. Not surprised by the numbers, though. Too bad they didn't have the IMAX screens. Well, guess what?
They
They
didn't need
do
it.
now.
They didn't need it.
Now. They have made a change to this upcoming weekend, and half of the IMAX screens the Odyssey has had that aren't the 70 millimeter screens are now going to Spider-Man Brand New Day this coming weekend. It'll obviously see a big fall from 360 million. It might not be as big as you thought with them getting some IMAX screens. So, good on IMAX for adjusting. Tommy B, Spider-Man Brand New Day, man. We've been waiting for this one for a while. I think you'd have to be blind if you didn't say the movie feels a little bit different than the previous three. What were your thoughts on Spider-Man Brand New Day? Non-spoiler thoughts.
So, non-spoiler for this film, and bearing in mind, of course, what we've had in the marketing, I will just say that I was not a massive fan of the spell at the end of No Way Home. And I like the direction some things are moving forward with this film in light of that. Uh, there was a lot of exciting twists and turns, and as we know, characters old and new are capitalized on, and I find that, to echo Zach, it really helps us embrace the fact that Spider-Man has such a significant meaning to the general movie going audience, the general media consumer, but definitely the fans. I'm not a super duper Marvel a superhero history buff, but if memory serves me correctly, the comic book industry was going under quite a few years ago. And one of the big things that ended up saving it was the release of the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man film. So, that just really illustrates how much this property, this slice of superhero fandom continues to really stand out just among everything else that we have. We have more than we ever have before, of course, but four dedicated movies as Spider-Man. Now the lead amount of movie holder, and as far as we know and can tell, a fifth one on the way, maybe down the line after he takes his break. It's exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing the future of this, and I just can't believe I'm not done with these characters. Right? I mean, they could keep going forever, and I think we'd still probably enjoy it.
We could have like Spider-Man 12 retirement home, and people will go watch it.
Well, he has said that eventually he'd like to help introduce Miles Morales. I think there's a story to be told there if they get around to it.
Yeah, they got to finish their little animated thing first before they let them touch that, is my guess.
Ain't that the truth? That was supposed to be out, what, a year or two ago?
Yeah, and we'll see if they make next year. Randy, what'd you think, buddy?
Oh, I mean, I absolutely loved it. I feel like one of the things I really enjoyed was the fact that when you see the trailer and then you go to see the movie, you realize the trailer gave you nothing, and that was beautiful. That way, nothing was really spoiled. Nothing was like surprising. Everything was surprising to me. I thought the performances were so good. Tom Holland has definitely made this role his own. And he's very fortunate that he's youthful. His youthful look really will help pave the way for him to play Spider-Man for a couple more movies. I know the goal is to introduce Miles Morales, and he is ready to hand off the mantle, but not just yet. At least that's what I read online. But ultimately, it had laughs. It had great action pieces, great settings, a lot of very strong dramatic moments that really, kind of just, it hit you in a way that you're like, I've felt this before. I know what this kind of feels like, even though it's, in a superhero movie, but it's just those types of takeaways. If you can get, and the fact that every single movie we've seen, Spider-Man grow, Peter Parker grow as a character, and we finally get to see the comic book version of Spider-Man that we all knew was possible in this movie. And it was just a great, fun, wild ride. I loved the chemistry between Peter and Punisher. I mean, I want a movie with those two alone. Give me Frank Castle and Peter Parker duo movie any day of the week, even a series. That thing would just be amazing.
Throw in Daredevil and I would watch it over and over again.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Epic trifecta with Kingpin as the villain. Sign me up. Sign me up. Sadly, there's some rights issues preventing some of that. So All right. I don't really have any non-spoiler thoughts. I'm gonna get into the spoilers. And I'll be brief. I thought Bernthal and Holland were really impressive together, but we shouldn't be surprised. The two are friends in real life. They were in the Odyssey together. They've been in a previous movie together that I cannot remember the name of. So they had experience, right? And I thought, spoiler alert again, last time I'm going to say it, I thought Sadie Sink was really good as Jean Grey. I thought that was a very unique way to bring that character in and begin telling Earth 616's version of the X-Men story. Um, Tom Holland was incredible in this movie. And I would dare I say, I think less was more for Ned and MJ. I thought that both of them maybe got too much screen time in past movies, and they had less in this one, and yet I felt like it was used more effectively. Um, the swinging around the city shots were great. Felt like it was right out of the video game. Um, it was a really, really good movie. You know what I won't call it? A great movie. I did not think it was a great movie. I thought, I'm glad Mondo was sad that it was, ending. I thought it was maybe 15 or 20 minutes too long. Keep in mind, I probably need to watch this fresh a couple months from now when my mind isn't where it currently is. So I will reserve judgment on this being an ironclad opinion from me. I personally thought No Way Home was better. But I really like this movie. I think it's a really good movie. To me, this was the closest thing to Spider-Man 2, as in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2, that we've seen since Spider-Man 2. And I'm not even saying that it's not as good as Spider-Man 2. It may, in fact, be better than Spider-Man 2. I really don't know at this point, but it was the closest thing to that feeling that I've had since then. And I thought it was really good. I thought it was really well done. I will say, as a father of a 3 and 6-year-old who like Spider-Man, I felt bad for them because this is not a movie directed towards their age at all, where the previous 3 Spider-Man movies, I think you could argue you can get away with people, kids, children that are that age watching those movies, and it has more of a comic booky kid feeling. I didn't think that was here at all in this movie, or it was more spread out. It was more mature and adult themes, and I preferred it, but my kids didn't. So it is what it is. Randy, what do you think? Or sorry, Zach, what do you think?
You can go around whatever horn you want, man. It doesn't matter to me. Um, thinking back on those thoughts that you had about the maturity level, I think it definitely had more cussing just because it had more Frank Castle. So I will grant you that. Um, but I guess personally I feel like there's a little bit of contradictory thoughts here, and maybe you're right. Maybe it does require time to process because in one instance you're talking about this movie being the closest thing to Spider-Man 2, which is essentially a copy and paste of a comic book. And then another thought you had was that it's not comic book enough. So it's an interesting enigma that like those are the different types of interpretations that people might have for this
I
film.
more so meant from a kid perspective. Like I would argue that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2 is probably not a Spider-Man film my kids want to watch. There's a
Okay.
lot of Peter Parker in that film and not
Mhm.
as much Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, Doctor Octopus is straight out of a comic book, like the way that they dressed him up. But I see where you're coming from. Um, I think this is the level of maturity that Spider-Man needs to have right now. I think since 2016, a lot of what we've had is him trying to come into his own, trying to see how he fits in with Iron Man in movies like Homecoming and Civil War, trying to see how he fits in with the Avengers in Infinity War and Endgame. And now that he's got a clean slate, he's got an opportunity to establish his own identity, to become his own person and be who he wants to be. And you see that in his relationship with Frank. You see that in his relationship with the detective. He's chatting with her on the phone while shopping for supplies because he knows that New York is so big and so vast that he'll be able to maintain his anonymity, even if he's having Spider-Man related conversations as his alter ego. Um, so I like that he has this clean slate, that he has this opportunity to become his own person. And with Ned and MJ, being graduated from college now, this is a little bit of an older Spider-Man. Not like old, but he's a little bit older now. And the themes were a little bit in keeping with that. And some of the action and some of the motivations were in keeping with that. And I liked it. So I do think that the scenes that they kept were necessary. I'm curious to hear Tommy's thought about the spell at the end, because that was one of those mind-blowing things to me, to see the type of power and influence that Jean Grey is able to have without even having been to Xavier's school yet. Like, this is just raw, untapped potential that hasn't been honed yet. And to see that go for over a kilometer, um, was 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 pretty interesting. And so I felt like every type of story piece that they tried to tell, like, gelled together really well. It was a mystery for a little while. It was an adventure for a while. It became a drama for a little while when MJ found out. So yeah, I felt like everything was justified and warranted. But looks like I've taken over co-host role for a little bit here, so I'll pass it on to Tommy next, because I do want to hear about your thoughts on the spell that Jean cast, and why. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to like attack your perspective, but like, why do you feel like that scene didn't work?
When I said spell, I was referring to the spell from No Way Home.
I see.
Yes. So as far as Jean Grey, that was something I knew Sadie Sink was in this. Of course, we all did. I did not know it was going to be. I seen it rumored, and then like the day or so prior, Friday morning, when I started seeing in some comments sections some people being jerks and posting spoilers of the movie, I just clicked off it immediately. And I gotta tell you, I am an X-Men fan. I probably before the past year or two, I did see some of the comic book movies back in the day of them. But I grew up with the '90s cartoon, and I love X-Men '97. Love X-Men '97. It is one of my favorite things going on in this world of fandom right now. Also, right up there, oddly enough, DC is my Adventures with Superman, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. So this spell with Jean Grey, I gotta tell you, I may like X-Men, but take my fan card here. I'm not super familiar with the character to know if this is a Jean Grey we've seen before in some context, back in the world of comics and such. If Jean Grey coming in being introed in a villain way like this, pre X-Men is really, or without X-Men is really a thing. I mean, we all know the Phoenix, but yeah, this is interesting. I mean, they're taking some liberties, of course, because it's the MCU and they haven't really tapped into the X-Men until past few years. But it's been a head scratcher for me as someone who's, I guess, not familiar with some of the animated media, but not comic books related to the characters. So I could talk all day about that, but I really enjoyed what they were doing with this spell, and just like you said, it's untapped power. She's coming into her own, And I was a little vague, and I guess I still am, as to how old the character is actually supposed to be. Because Frank makes a comment, she's a teenager, but I think most folks are thinking she's actually in her 20s. I don't know how old she's really supposed to be when she arrives at, the school, if that's still a path they're going to take. But I just wonder, if she's in her 20s, isn't she too old to be starting fresh with the X-Men? It's it's really one of those odd parts about what we're doing here.
Well,
All
I
the
mean,
same, I'm very happy to see this. I'm very happy to see her on screen, and I'm happy to see we're taking more steps toward bringing the X-Men in. And just, it's this is going to be a big spoiler, but I've been seeing the fans speculating. I'm very I don't buy in very quite to this idea that Jean Grey's spell weakened the effect of the No Way Home spell, and that at the end of the movie, that was Ned remembering Peter because her spell weakened the spell from No Way Home. I don't buy into that. If that was what was actually happening there, it was just because he was Ned and he was getting his own stuff going on. But I think they can still go either way. Anyway, I've said enough.
I mean, they kind of dropped it off on purpose that way so that it could be open to interpretation, whether it was Gene or if it was just Ned remembering or something else entirely. I don't know if it was meant to be explicitly unveiled. So it's a fun posit. Um, Randy, I don't know if you and I have ever discussed the X-Men all that much. What are your thoughts on some of the older iterations, and what are your thoughts on finally getting a true introduction? We got a little bit with like Legacy Xavier showing up in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, but I think this is probably one of our truest forms of it finally making into this MCU.
So I'm definitely a huge X-Men fan, uh, more or less of the older movies. I When we got to, like, you know, doing Dark Phoenix and things like that, Fox's attempt at that, I had kind of sort of checked out by then, just because to me the quality just wasn't there that I was accustomed to. Obviously, I've seen the Wolverine movies, even Origins, because Wolverine's one of my favorite characters. So, and that's going to be, like, obviously down the road, that's going to be a big thing, is who do they get to embody that beast of a character. Um, as far as what we got for an introduction with Jean Grey, I was a little confused at first, but then I thought about it. I was like, wait a second, she's only jumping. And then I thought about it, I was like, well, okay, we don't see Xavier yet. We don't see the school. This is a really young Jean Grey who has not been trained at all. And when we got her power jump because of everything we learned in the movie, and I was like, okay, now we're starting to see that Omega level threat that I was expecting from her from the word go. And I think the ending kind of shows her taking that step towards going towards Xavier's school. One of the things I was kind of hoping for was to hear, like, whoever they were thinking about having as Professor X, or even Patrick Stewart for that matter, just talk to her in the middle of all that, because we all know that Xavier would have sensed her power explode like that, and he would have been like, okay, I need to check on this. But as far as like the interactions, I feel like it's Tom Holland and Sadie Sink had good chemistry. They really played well off each other. And it's good to know that with Sadie Sink, she's young enough that she can play Jean Grey for many, many years to come. I'm really excited to kind of see if they actually try to redo the Dark Phoenix saga with her, because I think she's just going to knock it out of the park. And by then, we'll be so emotionally invested in the new X-Men. It should be one of those movies that might even, see this type of turnout that we got for Spider-Man. But yeah, this is by far the best that I've seen out of Marvel in a while. And I really can't wait for Doomsday now. just because like the fires are stoked. I'm ready to go, man. I kind of wish that movie hadn't ended when it did, but I understand the reasons why they did it.
So we talked about the introduction of Jean Grey specifically, but Sean did ask us to try to point out who our favorite character was, whether that be Jean Grey or if it's somebody else. Honestly, I would even go for like a pairing, like a duo, because Spider-Man and MJ have some really great scenes. You mentioned that Peter and Jean have some great scenes. I personally really enjoyed the fight sequence in the um, what is it? The Department of it's not Department of Defense. What was it?
Damage
The
control.
Damage
Control.
control. Yeah, in the damage control building, between Punisher, Hulk, and Spider-Man. That was probably one of my favorite sequences. Um, but I know Tommy, you're going to be a little crunch for time. We were trying to get you in on the front end of this. Who would your favorite character or favorite character pairing be from this movie, and why?
I have a very hard time saying anyone other than Spider-Man for this film. If I wasn't thinking Spider-Man, if we had that rule, I'd say Punisher. Uh, Having said that, pairings, if I was picking one of those, it would be Peter and MJ. You know, they had some really good chemistry on screen, and they're really appealing to the history that we all know about and Peter knows about, but MJ has now only read about. And I think that's really powerful. You know, it's considering their actors are married in real life, and even before that, so many folks are just really rooting for these two to
Man,
get their happy ending. I don't know that we're going to get it, but I like to hope.
Zendaya has been busy as hell because Euphoria just wrapped up, and she also did uh, Odyssey. She did this, and then Dune is coming out this winter. Like when they say that they're taking a break, I think it's completely justified because when
They
you're
need a
working
break. They need to go
3 or 4
off the grid for a
jobs
while.
at
Yep.
once. I remember one summer when I was in college, I think I did 5 different jobs, and I ended up doing all 5 jobs in one day, one time, and it completely drained me. I was running on my absolute fumes at the end of that day. And I still look back on that day rather fondly, being like, okay, cool, I could do that. It's nice to know I can do that, but I need a break now. So them taking a break, I think, is completely justified. Um, Randy, favorite character / favorite pairing?
So I'll just go character, and I will say Peter, just because the growth was there, like, and the way Tom Holland acted in this movie, like you could feel every gut punch. You could feel the joy. You could feel the sadness. You could feel like he really brought it in terms of like just that feeling of loneliness, and he just exuded on the screen. I mean, granted, you got to give credit to the directors and the writers as well, but you know, it takes a special kind of actor to be able to just give you a look and you understand what he's feeling just from a look. And and plus, I mean, to see Spider-Man do some of the things he did finally, uh, have that comic book accurate abilities coming finally shining through because he finally accepts everything. It was just a great roller coaster ride for the character, and I was there for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. His growth, maybe not in physical stature, but in character, has been very fun to see over the last few movies. Um, I'm being told from our producer that we do need to kind of wind this thing down. So let's blend favorite scene / moment with final thoughts so that we can unfortunately move on to the next thing. But is there is there a particular sequence, particular moment, particular fight, particular interaction that stood out above the others and why? And how does that factor into your rating of the movie out of 10? Uh, Tommy looks deep in thought. Randy, do you have a thought in mind?
I'm gonna say for me it's the scene where Peter's getting the shit beat out of him, and he finally accepts that he can be both Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and he essentially levels up and unlocks all his essentially latent abilities that he had been suppressing. That moment, just seeing what he could do, and then of course leading into the really solid dramatic moments with Jean Grey to kind of help her come to terms with everything, and just that whole end there uh, really did it for me. Uh, and I'm going to give it a 9.8 out of 10 because it was to me, it was damn near perfect. Just some little tweaks here and there, and it probably could have been a 10 out of 10, but for me, it's a 9.8.
It's very, very high. I have a feeling if Sean was here, he would not be giving it something quite that high. But I do think a rewatch is also warranted for him because I think they tried to go to a drive-in, and their kids were not really feeling like in a drive-in type of mood.
I think you
So
wrote it was hot when they were there.
they had to sail the high seas in order to see this one this time. So that may be a factor for it as well. But Tommy, favorite scene and final thoughts.
I mean, if I was sticking exclusively on action, Randy hit the nail on the head because I'm scraping by. That's something we did not talk about is, these ongoing abilities being unlocked throughout the film. And it's just so cool at the end when finally he gains command of it. And while I'm watching it, I'm thinking this is happening because he's not wearing the mask, isn't it? The mask is not interfering with things, and he's just doing his own thing. And they synthesize that together with now he is Peter Parker and Spider-Man, no mask but suit, and doing his own thing, shooting the organic webs out there. That was some cool shit. But if I wasn't doing that, I would say that scene of Peter, well, as Spidey with Ned and MJ, that was pretty powerful, right? We've seen all the films, we know their history. That the two of them don't experientially know their history, but Peter does, and we feel that. We sit there with him, and we're like, wow, they're really tugging at the heartstrings here. I was thinking something more along the lines of an 8 out of 10 and 8.5 out of 10. Just because, I mean, there are more things they could have done, would have liked more X-Men, but also this isn't an X-Men film. This is a Spider-Man film.
Right.
I only got to go to the movie theaters one time this summer. I am very happy this is the film I got to see.
That I think that says a lot too, because people can be very selective about how often they go or when they try to go, and sometimes you have to make that decision count. So I'm glad this one counted for you. Sean told us privately that he gave it an 8 out of 10. I'm probably leaning closer to around a 9 out of 10. I enjoyed pretty much everything about this movie. The characters, the action, the humor, the set pieces. I don't remember very much about the music. I don't really remember much about the score. And so maybe the sound design and the film score is going to get a little bit of a knock for me. However, I will say there is a lot trending on my wife's algorithm of TikTok that basically celebrated when Bad Bunny started playing during one of the action sequences. Apparently the Latino community was like their radar just kind of perked up when they heard his song start playing. And so there are people that are happy with it. It just, I guess it didn't resonate for me specifically, but I'm probably in the ballpark of like a 9 out of 10. There's very little critiques that I would have, but I do think I would have liked maybe a mid-credit scene where we see where Jean Grey is going, just to confirm for us that she is headed towards Xavier's school or headed towards an interaction with somebody else. Hawkeye gave us kind of that type of thing when Ms. Marvel visits Haley Steinfeld's character, and it would have been nice to have like one cameo of some sorts, whether it's McAvoy or somebody else. Um, but it that would probably be one of my few critiques of this movie.
That
Everything
end
else-
credit scene was not worth
No.
holding my bladder
No.
for
No.
throughout that whole time. That was
No.
not worth my bladder.
No, it was not. It was absolutely not. And I texted one of my friends and was like, "No, don't bother. Don't waste your time."
We ended up telling one of our friends about that, and she didn't. And my wife just sent it to her on TikTok. And, yeah.
Hey, he's back. He had to make an appearance to tell me to shut up and get off. Tommy, we're gonna have to say goodbye for now. But thank you for being on. Thank you for being here. Thank you for chiming in on the one movie you got to see this summer. It was great to have
Yeah,
you back for a
guys.
little
Yeah,
while.
it was great to be back. Now I am going to go and try not to wake a 3-month-old up. So
Good
I
luck
hope you
with
guys have a
that.
great evening. Okay.
Good
You too, man.
luck with that. Okay, I've got the Stark shirt on. I've just been kind of hiding it a little bit. We're gonna dive right into this and say hello to Ryan, who is joining us for our penultimate episode discussion of House of the Dragon. We've mentioned in private chats that this probably did not feel like a traditional penultimate episode where a lot of the high stakes tend to happen the episode before the finale, and then you deal with the aftermath afterwards. Ryan, we'll just go ahead and kick it off with you and say hello, and then try to get your initial spoiler-free thoughts on this 7th episode of season 3.
Yeah, first off, I really enjoyed your Spider-Man discussion. I really loved that film as well. I know you didn't ask, but I would give it a 9 out of 10 personally. So,
Hey, awesome.
honestly, we always say this, right? I can't believe we're at the penultimate episode, and we've already been through 7 weeks and only 1 week to go, and then we're taking a 2-year hiatus again. It just doesn't feel like it. So, I hate that we have to go wait more and more for this. But to the question, I agree. I have mixed feelings on this episode. There was a lot of really good aspects and some things that really tripped my trigger and excited me. But it just seems back asswards. Like, our first and second episodes really kicked us off, felt like the penultimate and final episodes of the previous season. And I had high hopes that we would get another strong ending with a 7 and an 8. And yes, 7, this episode definitely had its high marks. It disappointed me in a lot of ways as well. So I'm hopeful that they've set up the finale to really give us a hell of a send-off. And at least from the preview, it seems like we're going to have a hell of a send-off. But I had a lot more expectations for this one, and it didn't live up to it for me.
That's fascinating. That is fascinating. We'll keep going counterclockwise and say hi to Dustin, who just got brought on. Dustin, I'll kind of throw you a similar question. Like, we know what penultimate episodes traditionally are in Westeros. This did not feel like a traditional penultimate. Didn't quite land very well with Ryan, it sounds. How did it land with you?
Yeah, it was definitely, I guess, being the penultimate, you would think that a lot of stuff would happen, and then you're usually dealing with the aftermath after the fact, and getting to live with the decisions that were made and kind of setting it up for the next season. So definitely just felt, I think this was a strong episode. There were a few nitpicks that I had throughout it, but I actually really enjoyed it. I think they're setting it up for a pretty solid finale, and I think I had thought they would be further along than where they were, given the stakes of the season with Tumbletown. So I thought maybe that would be more the mid-season, and then you'd have something bigger going on at the end, but it looks like they're setting it up for quite the ending. I think this was one of the better episodes of the season, in my opinion. So and seeing the look ahead and what's coming up next, I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen.
Did anybody on the panel get to see the documentary, the 20-minute featurette about the making of this episode, The House That Dragons Built? Oh man, highly recommend it. There's some very, very intricate behind the scenes that helped make this episode happen, and it definitely gave me a deeper appreciation for it. Sean, I know that that's something that you historically watch, maybe didn't get the chance to this week, but what did you make of this episode and some of the spectacle that was involved? It didn't have your traditional big battle like we would get with Blackwater, but it did have some other elements that probably cost the studio a pretty penny.
Yeah, I don't know if the elements were what I was most paying attention to in this episode. It felt more like the penultimate of the initial season of Game of Thrones. Like, you don't get a big battle, but there's definitely some monstrous events going on in the episode. I thought it was, I had some time to think about this earlier today, and at first I thought, maybe it was my second or third favorite episode, but the more I've thought about it as the day has gone on, I actually think this is the best episode of the season. Now, episodes 1 and 2 are really good; they're right behind it, but I thought this episode offered a lot between, the dynamic of characters, and I also thought this episode, without diving completely into it, this is the last thing I'll say on it. We'll say got one step closer to making those possible spoilers in Game of Thrones more true. I've kind of been like the entire time, well, maybe they'll say that was only from a certain point of view and it actually ended this way. And I'm a little more sure that no, they're gonna do what Joffrey talks about.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. And here's a funny thing, and I won't say too much because I know we need to get Randy's thoughts as well. I never thought in the entire time that I've been watching this show, I never thought I would ever catch myself respecting and or rooting for Aegon. And yet somehow this freaking episode did that for me. I still don't know how. But Randy, what did you make of this season's penultimate?
So obviously, when you think about how it started, that caught me off guard just a little bit. But a lot of moving pieces. Definitely feels like we're building to something big for the finale, which is what you always want. And even you had to throw in that moment where you just go, "You son of a bitch." So, I mean, it had a little bit of everything, and but a very dramatic in a lot of respects, and just a lot of moving pieces, which it's what you want, what you need. But the thing is, every story, some wrapping up, some and then a lot of the stuff making sense, and they're really kind of pushing towards some things that you were curious earlier in the season if it was going to happen or not, and then you're rewarded. Your patience has been rewarded in this episode with a few different things. So ultimately, I enjoyed the episode. I'm not going to say me personally, it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's the best episode of the season, but it's still a good episode regardless. But I'm excited to see what we get next week.
I don't think it was the best episode either, truthfully. I think the Battle of the Gullet is still one of the greatest spectacles of the entire show, let alone this season. So I do probably put it at like number 2 in the season, though. I don't know if if it claimed the top spot, but the payoffs that this episode has, as far as what's going on with Reyna, as far as Rhaenyra's trust issues, as far as um, Helena being a dreamer, as far as Alicent trying to figure out what Aemond and Alice's dynamic is, the same way we, the viewers, are. Like, there are times where I'm seeing Alicent say something is like, I still don't know who this woman is. And I'm like, thank you. You're speaking for me, the viewer. And so um, there were a lot of really big implications that had really big payoffs, and I did appreciate that. However, I really thought that we were going to get like both. So, mild spoiler: there are actually two battles that happened in Tumbleton, and they both have different implications and payoffs. And considering we only have one more season and we only have 8 more episodes, I honestly thought that we would get both battles of Tumbleton this season. And I'm a little disappointed that they continued to selectively slow the pace to the point that we're only getting one of them this season. That means there are other battles, there are other skirmishes, there are other moments that are going to have to be cut, or they're just going to completely omit the second battle and blend it with something else next season, which is also a disappointing prospect. So I'm looking forward to this Battle of Tumbleton, especially what happened in that final scene right before we go to credits. But there are some larger implications, considering we only have the 4th season as the final season, that could end up playing a factor into how the rest of the show plays out. So um, that was a little disappointing for me, but I did really enjoy what we got. Like I said, cheering for Aegon was not something I had on my bingo card, and I ended up doing that a little bit. And I really didn't expect myself to say that Team Green was winning as many episodes this season as I thought they would. This has like, for as Team Black as season 2 was, season 3 has been very green centric, very green heavy. Um, let's talk about the greens for a little bit, because they had some pretty big, pretty important moments in here. Um, Ryan, what did you make of some of the different conversations and some of the groundwork that got laid for Team Green in this episode?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot. And I would say this is probably where I think the episode shined the most, for sure. And there's, I think, 3 separate stories now kind of marching forward here with Team Green, if not more. But obviously, I think the Helena and Rhaenyra conversation was very, very important. And obviously, we saw the opening credit with Helena having a dream. The end of the episode with her having a dream. I thought that was very interesting and important to note that it bookended with her dreams. And obviously, we saw some things in that I think we play out going into season 4, and even the future. Obviously the winter is coming moment caught me there. So I'm like, okay, there's a lot happening here. Obviously, Ormond, in the conversations he was having at Tumbleton, they're trying to debate, is this the move on the board? And obviously we got the payoff for that at the end, but they definitely had me kind of, okay, well, you guys were right, by the way. Corlys is alive. I thought he may have been dead. So there's a lot happening there with Team Green, and Aegon was my favorite character again. Just the conversations, his last stand, and his emotional fortitude to say, you know what, this is it. a lot of really key bits of information were definitely told in this episode. So I'm actually a whirlwind of how to dissect it all, but I thought Team Green definitely had the most dynamic episode for sure.
Dustin, was there a particular sequence or a particular group or a particular moment involving the Greens that stood out to you compared to some of the others?
Oh man, there was a lot. I mean, the stuff with sorry, I was getting this done. With Aegon was great. Seeing him and the Lannister basically saying like, look, he had way more honor than I could have thought he would have had at the time, with him kind of saying like, look, this army is coming for me. I'm not going to let you just take the fall for me. And Aegon really stepping up and saying like, look, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die king. I'm not going to be some unknown person that's buried in dust. So I think that part was really great. And then seeing Sunfire show up it was pretty amazing. And I like the look of Sunfire, had like this kind of matching Aegon's disfigurement, and there was the parallels between the two that I thought was really cool.
That was on purpose.
Yeah. Also, I think the person on Team Green that surprised me the most has been Gwen. I think a lot of us have had that feeling that he's been a pretty great character in this season, and seeing him, mourn the loss of Cole, and finding out that he's died basically, and the effects it has on him. But I think for sure. And then I think you have to also just call out Ulf being the chess piece, and what he sets up, what he says. And so again, Team Green had an amazing episode.
I was just about to ask Sean his thoughts, but I guess we'll ask Randy instead. Randy, your thoughts on how the Greens fared this episode, and what does their faring here do for the implications of the oncoming battle in the season finale?
So yeah, I would say I'm not surprised, because it definitely feels like we've been Team Green for a while now. Everybody seems to have having their moments this episode, from Aegon finding his courage and his honor, which I thought was an excellent character development considering how he was at the beginning of the season, to essentially the resurrection of sorts of Sunfire, which I thought was very well done. They did a great job of just kind of setting that up. You look at everything going on with Ormond and Tumbleton, and I like how they, in their own way, they duped us. They basically set it up. You see Corlys, you see them kind of they're having that chat, and of course, obviously, Ormond insults Corlys, and you have Darren reporting to Gawain about that they have Corlys, so that's, and Gawain's trying to say that, hey, this is the chess piece, when then of course at the end we find out it's a completely different chess piece. And that's I said, you had that "you son of a bitch" moment, and there it was. Clearly Ormond understands and has been playing the game long enough that there's certain things you keep close to the chest, and that's exactly what he did. And he's making everybody think one way, and he's basically coming from another. And the whole thing with Aemon, it's like he's still Aemon, but there's something. Allison has definitely something going on with him, some sort of hold over him that is very interesting to see. Just see the character not be as aggressive as he once was, but still being extremely careful on top of it. And obviously another perceived win for Team Grin is we can pour one out for old Sheep Stealer, meeting his end this episode. And just it seems like with Rhaenyra falling apart at the seams, everything is just coming up Team Green at this point.
Does he die? I'm just going to put that to the. Does he put that to the panel? Because I thought he got away. I didn't actually see a death rattle.
No, I was pretty sure he got away. He kind of took an opportunity and walked away. Very injured, but I think he was still alive.
That's I agree. I thought he was still alive. Yeah.
Yeah, but you thought Corlys was dead, so.
they visually showed Sheep Stealer going around a corner, right? Like, unless he dropped dead off screen, which we've already discussed doesn't happen, he's alive.
Oh man!
I guess it depends on how injured that wing was, because if it was really injured, then he may have fallen off the side of the cliff, but he still could have survived, so it's possible. But I still feel like, I don't know. But again, major character deaths are usually happen on screen, and this one didn't. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, they're usually very deliberate. Like seeing Otto Hightower get beheaded, for sure that man's dead. So I think you're right. I think you're onto something there. Sean, do you feel up to fielding a question about the Greens?
Sure.
We talked a little bit about Aemond and Allison. We talked a little bit about Aegon and Sunfire. Let's also give some credit where it's due to our favorite dreamer and what kind of an impact that plays on Team Black. Because as we get ready to do a little Team Black discussion, Helena's kind of the linchpin right now, the bridge between Team Green and Team Black. And some of the things that she says and some of the interactions that she has with Rhaenyra kind of causes her to spiral a little bit and causes Rhaenyra to be rather mistrusting of her advisors just because she had one weird conversation with Helena. So what do you make of her, the dreamer, and what kind of impact it had at the Red Keep?
I think she's the one character who I can say throughout all 3 seasons now, I don't feel like bad within her or ill intentions within her. She just kind of wants to live her life, and
yeah,
there's a lot of her dad in her, and I honestly I just think Helena wants what she was dreaming of at the beginning, wants to kind of live in the middle of nowhere and be in peace and have nothing to do with all this bullshit that's going on. And if I can quickly add on Team Black before you go around the table asking about them, and actually to comment on your comment earlier about how they have you cheering on Aegon. First of all, great writing. But second of all, like, I'm someone who was Team Black in the beginning, Team Black for last season, Team Black coming into this season, and watching how this season has played out. Who here has seen The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix?
I've seen it.
Everybody?
Original
Everybody.
Or Folie à Deux?
I haven't seen the second one yet, actually. I've never gotten around to it.
Don't waste your time.
I'm about to say.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Joaquin Phoenix says the same thing. So, there's that moment at the end of the movie where he looks at, Robert De Niro's character and he's like, you get what you fucking deserve. Well, Team Black, I point at you and say, you get what you fucking deserve. They have imploded in every way imaginable. It's all, you know, self-inflicted. And Rhaenyra, who I loved in season 1 and liked for quite a bit of season 2, has completely lost the fucking plot of this thing. And how many times she falsely references her dad has driven me nuts at this point this season. Like, I know it's part of the writing, but it also shows how much she did not fucking pay attention to what her dad was saying. And yeah, Team Black's toast, fellas. It's over. Throw in the damn towel.
So here's a theory that I was thinking about today while looking back on this episode. I would posit to you, my fellow watchers, that Rhaenyra's spiral did not occur naturally. It was not organic. It was artificially induced after Jace's death. I would say Jace being by her side and being like the angel on her shoulder for most of season 2. Aside from when he didn't really care for the dragon seeds coming to try to claim the dragons, for the most part, he was usually acting with the queen's interests in mind. And Daemon kept going off and doing side quests. There were a lot of people on her council that were on there with a lot of selfish ambitions. Jace did not really have any of those ambitions and was really just trying to do what was best for the family. I propose to you all that Jacaerys was the glue that held Team Black together. It kept Rhaenyra in a more queenly mindset and was able to kind of steer everybody in the right direction in the absence of people like Daemon. And once he was gone, the group became less cohesive and they didn't have the same mindset, the same mentality. I'm sure there were other factors. Like once you're actually on the throne, you have all of these other pieces of the puzzle that you have to try to figure out, like the city watch, like the religious groups, like, the petitions of the commoners and all that sort of thing. But I think if the prince is there, I think he's able to help her navigate those things and even act on her behalf in certain instances. Without him, Rhaenyra's kind of lost.
I think also the fact that, Corlys was someone that, and the queen who wasn't, right? They were instrumental in guiding her and keeping her on a path of like, hey, we could, we see the possibilities of she wants to be like Viserys. But losing Corlys, him going off, and then what's her name dying, his wife, the Targaryen, also set her down a path where she had less and less people in her corner telling her, along with Jacaerys, to get in her ear and tell her, there is a possibility to be a great queen. She's lost all those pieces, and it slowly just pushed her. And even in this episode, they say, like, she's like, how many times have I tried to be my father, and look what I have to show for it. And I think, like Sean said, I think that's because she wasn't paying attention.
She probably wasn't. I think one of the other quote unquote big moments would probably be the dragon fight. We haven't really talked about that yet, but aside from did Sheep Stealer survive or not, but in the behind the scenes, they were talking a lot about how we've seen dragons flying and fighting each other in the air like we did in last season. We've seen them participating in ground assaults like Daenerys's dragons did in the original series, or in naval assaults like at the beginning of this season. But we haven't really seen dragons going at each other on the ground, where it's claws, it's biting, it's scratching, it's wings. It's very loud, it's very chaotic. Um, Randy, what did you make of that sequence where even High Valyrian wasn't enough to really contain the chaos for a little while there?
It was actually really cool to get to see that type of a fight because, like you said, we never really get to see that. And the fact that for a moment there, you thought Sheepstealer was going to kind of hold his own and uh, did some damage, but ultimately, when you have 3-on-1, it definitely wasn't going to end in Sheepstealer's favor at all. But still, it was just so well done. I like how uh, the way it was written, the way it was shot, the CG was amazing. Uh, Obviously, everybody their reactions to seeing this, I think that was really well done as well. Because sometimes you can have battles like that where people just don't give a specific reaction you think a normal person would. I also like the fact that it got to the point where even Damon kind of took a hit because he got knocked off Caraxes, which I thought was just showed just kind of how scrappy Sheepstealer was and uh, how you really couldn't underestimate the dragon himself. So all in all, it was great to see. I like the tension it set. And you could tell just how attached Reyna was to Sheepstealer, which was, again, uh, if it wasn't for her, this whole thing does not go down the way it does. So all in all, I think it was really well done, and I kind of hope we kind of get more of this because an all-out just air, land, dragon battle would be amazing to see.
I feel like the dragons will be involved in the finale, just given what happened with Ulf at the end of the episode. But um, Brian, what did you make of the very CGI heavy sequence and the way that they were able to balance, having four actual human actors trying to play off of four very large CGI dragons?
Yeah, I actually think they did a great job of capturing the emotions of it. And as Randy said, like they're loud and they're just intense, and there's a lot of stimulation going on. And I thought the actors did an excellent job of not only playing to the stimulation of the dragons and the behaviors and the emotions they were sharing, but also their own, right? Like we had a lot of very important information come out of this. Obviously, Rhaenyra shows up, establishes that Daemon had been, basically telling a lie to her and protecting his daughter, and like there was a lot to unpack there, and it really, really stood out to me that not only the battle and the fight was obviously intense, but again, at the end of the day, I think we've kind of established that the dragons do what the dragons want. The dragon riders are just kind of there; they're not in control, and I truly felt like this was maybe the first time that we really get to see the dragons amongst themselves kind of just try to establish a level of hierarchy amongst themselves and emotions of each dragon. Like, because I felt Caraxes and Daemon, like, ho hum, we've been here before. This is not new. In control, but the other dragons and even Rhaenyra seemed timid, and I don't know. There was a lot there that I really enjoyed, but I thought the dragons stood out in this moment in a way that we haven't seen in any of the previous seasons. Obviously, you put four in a, kind of reminded me of the Office episode where they're all pointing at each other like dueling, just waiting for the moment to strike. And obviously, when the tension finally snapped and the fighting occurred, it really it was the best part of the episode for me. I was very enthralled by the whole thing.
Sean, I know you have sometimes had mixed feelings about the execution of certain dragon sequences in the past. How did you feel like this one stacked up by giving you dragons, but not giving them in like an aerial assault perspective?
I wish I could sit here and say I knew if this was a source material event. I don't know that. Maybe you do. I don't. But I'm betting if it is a source material event, the aerial stuff does happen in this event, and this was a money saving measure. That being said, I still thought the scene was effective and got its point across, and it was tense and really made you, wonder what the hell was going to happen next and who was going to make it out because, Rhaenyra's dragon suffers a pretty bad wound too, and Graxes is obviously a boss with his long neck and how he can take care of things. Yeah, I don't know how much. I might have to take a little bit of a break here until you guys are done. I don't know, but I wanted to say this in case I don't get an opportunity to say it. It's not related to this scene. But if Damon wants to drop Masari out of the moon door, I'd be okay with that. I wanted Cole's death to come. She's next on my list. What a fucking conniving bitch.
Yeah, we hadn't really touched on her all that much in this episode, but she tries to wield power and influence that she just does not truly have. And my wife described that scene with Rhaenyra as like a last ditch desperate effort. Like it wasn't organic, it wasn't like based on emotion. She felt it was more based on desperation. Like, I don't have the power or the influence that I thought I did, so I need to like basically make a move on the queen in order to try to like retain my status and like distract her from her suspicions of me, basically. So like that really put a new twist on that particular scene for me, because I'm like, oh yeah, she's not doing it because she likes the queen, she's doing it because she likes the power.
Yeah, and Rhaenyra is unfortunately stupid enough to, at least we think, play right into it. And, some of her decisions lately, I never would have been caught dead saying this in season one, but she can go with the goddamn moon door with how she's lost the fucking plot lately. Ugh, I did not think. I thought there was a chance towards the end of season two they might go this route in season three where they pull the narrative switch, the writers that is, and Condal. I didn't think it would be successful at all. Boy, that's the last time I underestimated a Game of Thrones based show.
She's turning into the Mad Queen, to put it mildly.
Yep.
Dustin, do you want to provide any other thoughts on the dragon sequence, or do we want to go into deciding which color won the episode tonight?
I'll just give a quick thought. I thought it was great because it's hard for actors to play off of CGI, right? We talked about that, to not have something to interact with, and I think the actors did an amazing job just showing off. Yeah, usually there's just that little stick and they have to portray emotion and interact in a way that makes it feel like these things are actually there. And I thought some of the interactions that they were having, where his daughter was basically saying like, he doesn't obey me, and seeing him try to get Caraxes, like I thought it was super well done, that part of it. And it was a cool thing to see him fight on the ground, because I know Sean thinks maybe it was budget saving, but I also like the fact that we could see how effective they are in ground warfare, and how they interact. And I think as far as the episode goes, I think it's Team Green won yet again. they're putting the pieces in place. They've continued to, scheme and put themselves in a position while the Blacks fall apart. Even though the Blacks have had some decisive wins, Team Green is putting themselves, they're playing the game. They're getting people to basically attack them without even having to be there. In the Red Keep, we see them, Ormond is getting them to attack the Gold Cloaks. So they've just constantly been one or two steps ahead of Team Black the entire season. So I think this episode 100% goes to Team Green again.
Randy, how about you?
Yeah, this is definitely an episode where Team Green gets the win, just because everything seems to be trending in that direction. Even though, yes, there's been some downs here and there, but they've had far more ups, and Team Black, unfortunately, is falling apart at the seams in ways that we saw coming, but also in some ways we really didn't see coming. I did not see Damon kind of start to fall apart a little bit. Not, like, I wouldn't say lose his edge completely, but start to lose his edge because of the regrets he's had with Reyna, which, I mean, it's good character development because we haven't seen it before, but the lack of having him around, especially for Rhaenyra, is really adding to and giving Masari the chance to just separate him even more. And that's unfortunately that's how he's been like the entire series. He's always doing his own thing. So this is going to be one of those things where unless something drastic happens in this next episode, I think Team Green is going to get that episode as well, but they definitely got this one.
Ryan, do you agree?
Yeah, I do. It's very interesting to me. Throughout the course of the season, all of the major battles have been won for the most part by Team Black. From a strategical standpoint, it feels like Team Black is firmly in control. But it's just clear that they are unable to maintain it as they've spread themselves thin. You made up a great point about Jace. It feels like Rhaenyra is just alone in a lot of ways, that she doesn't have anybody she can trust, even though Massaria is in her ear all the time. She has no Corlys. She drove him away. She has no Jace. She's poor decisions over and over and over again. So, it's creating this rift that's just splitting them at the seams, to the point that Team Green has been able to slowly, and again, you got to give a lot of credit here to Ormond. He's done a lot of work. And truthfully, I thought last week he was a little above the skis. Gwaine kind of saved his bacon, but at the end of the day, they are their strategy is working. They're building up the revolts within the Red Keep. It's just the warfare that they're fighting is working, and I think we'll get the payoff. And at the end of the day, Team Green wins this episode simply because Ormond was able to seemingly turn Ulf, right? Like that scene at the end was, I think, the critical point that's going to tip the scales of this war. I could be wrong, but my assumption is things are going to get really messy next week in Tumbleton, and Team Black is probably going to take a significant loss because of this, and the tables have turned. So yeah, Team Green, even though they're kind of behind currently, they've set the groundwork. They seem to be cohesive. They won this episode pretty handily.
Sean, how about you? Green or black?
I think there's an argument to be made that Team Black had the more compelling episode with everything they had going on, even if you didn't like what they had going on. But I like honestly, it's probably neck and neck. I'd probably give Black the edge right up until Sunfire comes back in that scene with Aegon. It's just kind of like, yeah, you had it, and then you did. And so I'm going Team Green, and at this point, I don't have a whole lot of hope for Team Black. Like, they've just self-imploded so horribly bad that I don't know if there's any getting the train back on the tracks with. I say 9 episodes to go, but the episode count hasn't been confirmed for the final season. We should assume that it's 8, but I'll go off and say there's a chance it could be 10, and that they bookend the show with 10, and then 8's in the middle. It's not going to make all that big of a difference, though. Yeah, Team Green, and like there's people on Team Green that I don't care for, like Ormond. He can go at the Moon Door too. Allison, she can go at the Moon Door. Eamon, don't like him either. But I got to tell you, the Gwaines of the world, and even Darren, I'll call him Brasso because he seems like a badass in this, and he's Brasso in Andor. But then like Aegon's story, right? Like, and Helena, it's somehow if you held a gun to my head and I had to choose to be on one team or another right now, I'd be the turncoat. I would be going from blacks to greens reluctantly. Oh, by the way, the idea that we, as in them, the people, control the dragons is a myth. Somewhere Rhaenyra forgot that line.
I think there's a lot from the advice of her father that she seems to have forgotten. You mentioned Sunfire. Is Sunfire your MVP of this episode?
Oh god, yeah, and like what a incredible design, basically mirror image Aegon, and wonderfully done. And I looked at Jade before they even showed him or hinted at him as they're coming up on them. I'm like, man, these guys are so fucked. I'm pretty sure I know what's gonna happen, and sure enough, it happened.
It was pretty cool. I got some Jurassic Park vibes from the giant reptilian figure coming out of the woods. It reminded me a lot of Jurassic Park. But Dustin, who was your episode MVP?
Ooh, man. I think I have to go with. I didn't think this would be possible, and I'm going to go with Aegon, just for his character development, for what he decides to do, the fact that he's willing to say, okay, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm not running anymore. So I'm going to face it. And, that whole moment, and Zach, I also got the Jurassic Park vibes from it, like the T-Rex escape the paddock scene. It's in the dark. You hear it and you hear the sounds of it coming through the trees.
You feel it before you see it.
Yeah. Right. And then everyone's reaction to seeing it. And then Aegon just saying, Dracarys, and just, setting up another loss for Team Black. That's why I think he's my MVP. I also thought it was funny. Laris was like, I'm crippled, so I wouldn't be very good. And he's like, yeah, you wouldn't be any good. Get out of here. So that was just a funny moment. But yeah, Aegon for me.
Yeah, I'm going to echo it and give a co-MVP to Thailand. I really liked his resolve. He was the epitome of a good servant. He tried to be good counsel and tried to offer up his place to the king and say, I really, really don't think this is a good idea. I would really, really advise that we tried this way. But once the king had made up his mind, he went along with it, up to the point of even death. And so any other lesser man probably would have chosen to leave or to escape, but he chose to be the king's ride or die. And I think that's going to pay off for him in the long run. So Aegon's character development is definitely really awesome to see. But I mean, it was kind of cool to see a Lannister do something honorable for a change instead of doing something profit driven. So yeah, those would be my co-MVPs. Randy, how about you?
So for me, all the reasons you guys said, I'm going to go with Aegon, which again, I'm still kind of processing how I could do that again. But I feel like with his development, it's kind of hard to ignore that. But also, when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, he now has the power to be a player again. And I'm very just excited, and I'm just to see now what he does now that he does have Sunfire back and that he has that confidence back, and the growth of just finally not being a spoiled little bitch. So yeah, that's basically the reasons why he's the MVP. That's not that there weren't other good performances. It's not that there weren't other good character moments. To me, his just kind of shown through because of everything he's been through and endured from the beginning of the season till now.
He's come a long way. Ryan, are you going to be a joiner, or do you have a different MVP selection?
Well, I'm going to say this. Aegon's arc has been my favorite story of the entire season. I think his growth has been phenomenal. He's been my favorite character for the most part all season long. But he's not my MVP this episode. As great as that moment was, and it was a great moment, I think the tides of the entire war turned the moment Ormond bribed Ulf to join their side. That moment seemed just the pawns on the board. Like he pivoted with Corlys, landed the home run, but with Ulf, treated him with respect. All the dude wanted was a little love. And Ormond saw that and gave it to him. And I think that's the critical moment in this entire story. So I cannot not give it to Ormond for this moment. Strategically, nothing better.
Okay. Well, this is it before we get to the season finale. Let's go into final thoughts and our scores out of 10. If you still have time, maybe a prediction / hope for the finale. But since we are slightly over, we do have a bit of a limit that we need to put on, and that's in the group chat here on Restream. If y'all don't mind taking a peek at that briefly. And Dustin, why don't you kick us off with final thoughts, score out of 10 for this penultimate of season 3?
Yeah, I think it was a good episode. They threw a lot of stuff in there, a lot of different elements, setting up for the end. I think that we are going to see the Mad Queen come to terms with she's going to have to make a decision one way or the other. And seeing her make that decision and live with it and the effects it's going to have for her in the next season is going to be really interesting to see. I hope they can really finish strong and cap off a pretty good season. And I think out of 10, I'm going to give this a 9.25.
Okay. Randy, you are up.
So, I mean, like I said, a lot of moving pieces. I feel like we should. I'm not going to say Tumbleton's going to burn, but I think we're going to see Rhaenyra make a decision that she's been dreading to have to make. When she acts, I'm going to assume she's going to learn about Corlys basically being caught. So I think it's going to be more of a rescue mission than anything else. But I also feel like we're going to see Aegon make a play. And I feel like we're going to see some stuff with Ormond that's going to probably piss us off further. But like I said, overall good episode. For me, it's an 8.5. I definitely feel like they've set things up for next week. I'm hoping that we just I hope they leave it to where we're excited. We're just kind of like, damn it, that's where they're going to leave it. Now I got to wait X amount of years, 1 year, 2 years, hopefully not 3, but that's kind of what I want out of the finale. I want us to be left with wanting more and not going, huh, see, your dumbass got what you deserved. And I don't want that. I want something that's just going to be like, oh shit, I can't wait for next season.
I personally already can't wait for next season. Like, I haven't even seen the finale. I've just seen the 1-minute preview, the little teaser, and I'm ready for that and ready for whatever comes after it. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, the thing that I'm very curious about is the health of these dragons, right? They kind of fucked each other up a little bit in this episode, and I think that's going to weaken them a bit. I mean, I foresee a major battle coming down the road, whether it's in this episode of next week's episode or into season 4. But I think, not only are they self-destructing internally, they're in fighting each other to the point of weakening their forces. So I'm worried about that playing out. Not, again, it's probably not going to make a noticeable difference in next week's episode, but it's just something that I'm pondering. So, as I said at the start, I really wanted this episode to land the home run punch. And while there was a lot of really good aspects to this episode, I just felt like I wanted more out of it. So it was a good episode. It wasn't a penultimate episode for me. So I'm going to give it an 8.0.
Okay. I'm going to go next because Sean has something that he would like to say towards the tail end. So I'm just going to give him the floor. These will be kind of my final words. Overall, I would probably give this somewhere in the ballpark of an 8.8. I don't know if it was like a perfect episode because, like Ryan said, it doesn't feel like a traditional penultimate, and now it leaves me wondering exactly what we're going to be getting in the finale. But I love the dragon sequence, and I loved the behind the scenes that showed the Guinness World Record of 23 people getting lit up by pyrotechnics in the same shot during Aegon's Dracarys sequence. They set a world record for stunt people getting lit up in the same shot. And it took a lot of planning, it took a lot of organizing. Each one of those stuntmen were paid quite handsomely for being actually set on fire. And they got it done in one take in order to minimize the damage. So that was a really cool thing to see, that the executive producers realize what this show is, what it's about, and what kind of standard it needs to hold itself to. And I would say it met the standard, maybe just a bit below it because of the way that the show, like the episode itself, was designed. But it gave us characters moving forward. It gave us big decisions being made. It gave us big scenes like the dragon fight or the pyrotechnics at the end. So it's still delivered in a lot of ways, just not in the ways that maybe we're accustomed to. So I'm excited for the finale. And that was a very good point about injured dragons. I am going to make a prediction and say we have not one, but 2 dragon deaths in the season finale. I think there's going to be a lot more dragons involved. And I think we are going to have multiple casualties in this big battle. And that's something I'm looking forward to. Okay, I'm done. Sean, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this episode a 9.2. Thought it was really good. I know it didn't have like the big battle sequence, but I thought it had multiple huge events with massive stakes that made it qualify for a penultimate episode that we're used to, but just done in a different way. Definitely looking forward to next week and seeing what all goes down. I'm gonna go around the table here quickly. Ryan, where can everybody find you at?
Yeah, so right before we came on to do this show, We're doing our Ram is Racing live show that we've been doing now for the last couple months. So you can find us over on our Ram is Racing channel and at Ram is Racing on X, or my handle, which is right somewhere on the screen, Yacht Racing 45, which is also X. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Dustin, how about you, buddy?
Well, Johnny's not here, so you can find me here, there, and everywhere. And when I'm not there, you'll find me here talking House of the Dragon, other movies, potentially some Halloween stuff coming up as the game approaches, and more news comes out about the 50th anniversary, but you'll find me here.
Randy, what about you? What do you get going on, bud?
So you can obviously find me here weekly over on X at Giggity Giles, and like Dustin said, with the Halloween game coming out, which I've secured my pre-order because I am that excited for it. I can't wait till we actually start playing it together and potentially live stream it for everybody, because that's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, with the football season really getting close, training camps open up. Hopefully, we'll start recording over on the Sports Brew. If you're curious about backlogs, if you just love people talking shit and drinking and having a lot of fun and just saying some of the most ridiculous things you've ever heard, you can Google Sports Brew and you should be able to find our home feed on Podbean, no problem.
And Mr. Voice, how about you, man? What do you got going on?
Yeah, the voice can be heard later this month. The high school football season kicks off August the 27th for me, and we're covering a couple of teams in the area, and my YouTube will be pretty active with some of those live streams of local high school football, and I'll be on the call for some of them, all of them, and that'll be taking up a lot of my time starting in just a few weeks' time. So in the meantime, just follow that Zach the Voice handle you see on the socials for everything else that happens in between Friday nights.
It's appreciated, man. Apologies to everybody for cutting the show short. I wish I could say that it has to do with the other thing I've been going through, but I think maybe just physically have overdone it in the last little bit, on top of emotionally and mentally. Had something happen with my throat towards the end of Ramen is Racing, and carried over to here and shot down through the chest, and had to just take my meds to make sure that I was, not going to have a medical emergency. Unfortunately, us that have had heart attacks, and if you had, whether it's an open bypass or stents put in, you got to be careful with that stuff and take them when they're needed and slow down a bit. And it sucks that that's the way it is, but that's the way it is. And so you have my apologies. I'm not following through with the rest of the topics, but we'll be here next week. And look, people lose animals all the time. It's an unfortunate part of life that most animals don't have the life expectancy that us humans do, and loss is almost guaranteed at some point in time. And I'm not very public on social media with a whole lot outside of what we do here and what Ryan and I do, but I have been over the last week or so about Tucker. I've only had one dog ever in my 37 years on this planet, and he was with me through a incredibly ugly breakup and cancer and a heart attack and the birth of two of my kids and raising the other one and a miscarriage and multiple moves. He was my rock, and it's going to take me some time to learn how to live without him. But I've gotten a outpouring of messages that I haven't replied to as many as I should have, and I can be kind of vocal when people don't reply to me when I'm trying to be there for them, and it's nothing like that. I'm just not in a very good place still, and I know it'll come with time, and I'm doing things that I should be doing to let's say try to get better, but just try to cope with everything. And so I hope that no one takes my silence as a bad thing. It's not meant to be. It's not intended to be. For me, losing Tucker is probably the equivalent of someone losing, a brother or a sister or a father or a mother, because I don't have a lot of close immediate family. I'm closer, and even though Dustin and I don't have a lot of history together with these four men here, then I am a lot of extended family members. And it's not even close. It's not even comparable. And that dog was more than just a dog to me. And if anybody has been able to have the luxury of forming a connection with a dog or a cat or whatever your choice of animal is, saying goodbye is difficult. Sometimes you get to prepare for it, and then sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens instantly, and to those people, I feel horrible for, because that's never a good thing. But at least we had a couple of months' notice. But even then, it's, if you would have asked me 3 or 4 months ago if I thought he'd still be here, it'd be a no-brainer. But that wasn't the case. And just want to thank everybody for their overwhelming support. And I'm not the most spiritual person. I know people have different opinions on whether animals can have a life after death and whether humans have life after death. I don't know if I believe in any of that, if I'm being honest, but I do know one thing. I'll be very fortunate the night I get to dream and at least see him again in my dreams. I'm not someone who dreams often. If I can offer one piece of advice to anyone, as someone who held off a very long time about getting a dog, and frankly probably needed some convincing to get him. If you have the time for them, if you have the space in your heart for them, even in a cat, whatever the animal may be, if you have the space in your heart to love them, they will love you in ways that you cannot possibly imagine. So thanks for lifting me up during these times, guys, and it's appreciated. Have a good night, fellas.